Hi, a very good morning to all, uh, and very warm welcome for this webinar on patent agent exam preparation for 2023. We are going to see how, the topic that has been chosen for today is how 2023 patent agent exam would be different from the previous exams, the patent agent exams as such. Like, uh, just a quick introduction for those who have joined for my session for the first time via YouTube Live. My name is Vijay Shivpuje. I'm a patent agent. I'm basically from pharma domain, pharmaceuticals. I'm a patent agent who I qualified the exam in 2005, and it's been like 18 years. I'm a patent agent. Since last 6 years, I've been practicing at the patent office as a registered patent agent, getting involved into patent drafting, the patent prosecution, and mostly for the life sciences companies or life sciences clients from pharma, chemistry, biotechnology, botany, zoology kind of domains as such. I run my very small company or knowledge process outsourcing company in a small town in Maharashtra called Latur. And currently, I'm actually operating or conducting this particular session from Latur. Uh, that's the brief actually, and under the banner of Patlex Business Solutions, we have been operating as a firm which is practicing in the area of IPR. Uh, Before I actually go for the session, I would also like to tell a bit of conflict actually, because I run the patent agent exam classes as well. And for that, I conduct a lot of sessions live as well as through our channel for our students actually. Or so we are already doing that. And but then this session, I just thought, because many students have got a lot of queries which are general queries beyond technical, and I thought this as an opportunity to get connected with the students to I would say provide them better clarity about general preparation of the patent agent examination. I also conducted the training program for 2022 exam, and I would just, before I actually start with the session, I would just highlight how was the exam and what were the key things, key takeaways from the patent agent exam, for the 2022 year as such. In the meantime, other colleagues of ours would also join. Just a request to everyone, if you have any question at any point of time, you can just put your questions in the chat box on YouTube. I'll be taking all those questions at the appropriate time or at the end of the session for sure. So let us discuss about 2022 exam statistics, because I believe it's just hardly 6 8 months back we had this exam actually, 2022 exam, and a lot of students appeared for that. And fortunately, we are having the exam in a gap of 1 year only, right? And because the last exam, due to COVID or some reasons, it happened after 4 years actually. So this year, it's something which is happening just after a gap of 1 year. So we would have that exam. The exam notification is already there. The date is already disclosed. It is there on the patent office website as such. Most of you must have enrolled for the patent agent exam. If you have not enrolled, the deadline has been extended. You can still enroll yourself for the patent agent exam. So it is already operational. As far as 2022 exam, there were almost 7,700 candidates appeared. But if you see, there were only 2921, almost I would say 38% of the students who enrolled appeared for the exam. So there is a very, I would say, a less percentage of students appearing actually for the exam for both papers, paper one and two. Now, the exam pattern is such that once you appear for the exam, thereafter, the patent office publishes list of list of students who are eligible for Viva, and the number of students who were eligible for Viva were 46.3% of those who appeared. That means जितने बच्चे एग्जाम दे रहे हैं उससे ऑलमोस्ट आधे लोग, आधे बच्चे अपीयर हो रहे, एलिजिबल हो रहे हैं वाइवा के लिए. Now those who are eligible for viva, they have to actually go through the viva, and after that, so at the time of viva you don't know your scores, how much you have scored in the paper one or paper two, that you don't know. You have to appear for the viva because they just publish the list of eligible candidates for viva. Now then out of the viva, actually, generally it was considered till 2018 that if you are eligible for viva, there is a high probability that you would crack the patent agent exam. 2022 was a bit of exception, I would say, because the percentage of students who were not qualified, uh, although they were eligible for viva, was very high. So 1 out of 4 students could not crack patent agent exam, although that person or the student was eligible for viva. So 75% only. But then it is not like they scored very less in viva, but their scores in paper one or paper two were very less actually. So 75% of the total, those who were eligible for viva, they cleared the exam. Now if you see how many of them, so out of the appeared students, almost 2900 had appeared, just 35% of those cleared the patent agent exam. And beyond that, just 13% of the enrolled ones, the ones who had enrolled for the patent agent exam, just 13% of them cracked the patent agent exam. Now that's the rough statistics for 2022 exam actually. And for a patent agent exam, most of you may know this actually, but then I'm repeating this. There are a lot of videos of mine on the YouTube channel which have this discussion in detail. But then for those who joined for the first time, for them, just for a pattern actually, what is the examination pattern as such? In paper one, you have, it's more or less like objective type. You have 100 marks. The qualifying marks for viva is 50. So if you get 50 marks, you are qualified for viva. The paper two is again for 100 marks. It is more descriptive. You have to get 50 marks for qualifying for viva, and the viva is for 50 marks, but there is no specific qualifying marks required in viva. This is very clear because many students have got this confusion. There is no specific qualifying marks required in viva. Rather, you need the aggregate of 60%. So that is out of 250, you have to get 150 marks. So for example, if you score 19 paper one and 17 paper two, you are already qualified. But there is a problem. You don't know how much you have scored. Right? Reason being, you don't know the marks, theory marks, when you are eligible for viva. So we had one student actually who got 150 marks without viva. So in fact, she was not with us actually for our training, but she prepared on her own actually. And there is a video of that particular candidate on our YouTube channel, how to prepare without external help or without taking any coaching or classes. That video is already there on our Pharma Literati YouTube channel. You can go through it once. She was eligible for Viva, but then she didn't know that she had already cracked the patent agent exam because her scores were 150 in one and paper. The aggregate of paper one and paper two was 150 actually, and beyond that, she scored certain 42 or 43 marks in Viva. Now, let us look at the syllabus now. Syllabus is also like I would say very important to when you start preparation. Actually, there have been lot of like questions or lot of I would say confusions about the syllabus because there are multiple type of resources nowadays which are available for the exam as such. So the general syllabus for paper one, and based on that, you have the objective questions is the Patent Act, the rules, manual of patent practice, patent forms and fees, and PCT, which is also called as Patent Cooperation Treaty. For paper two, it is generally the drafting, the interpretation of the Patent Act. We also call it case studies or analytical reasoning type of questions actually. Now the paper two analytical reasoning type of questions are mostly dependent on the syllabus for paper one. So you just cannot get you just cannot get answers to those questions unless and until you are conceptually clear in paper one. So paper one is generally we would call it since it's objective, it is also a very high scoring subject per se. But then beyond that, paper two is comparatively descriptive, and you would get comparatively lesser marks in paper two generally. But that's not the golden rule, because some of the students, in fact, last time scored up to 90 marks in paper two, which was really, I would say, a kind of an achievement basically, because if you are scoring so much in paper two as such, that is more of drafting. But then this can happen only when you are conceptually clear. Mugging up the section, the entire act or rules is not going to help you to crack the patent agent exam. You may score in paper one, but not in paper two. Okay, so that is important as far as the exam. So this is all about the examination pattern. This is how the Indian patent agent examination is actually conducted. Now again, for the contents, when I actually posted this about this session, I got a lot of questions from the students, and they were asking what should we refer to as far as the exam is concerned. What is that content we should refer to? I have been repeating this in all the sessions, or I would say in my classes. Just stick to Indian Patent Act, patent rules, manual of patent practice, and previous year's question paper. You don't need any external support beyond these four things actually, because these are available on the Indian Patent Office website. These are published by the Indian Patent Office. So the exam would be definitely through these three or four, I would say, the contents basically that you have to refer. So references point of view, you should stick to this. It would give you an advantage that you don't need to go through bulk of the contents if you are getting from any external resources as such. Now when we think of that, let us now understand how to actually prepare for 2023 exam as such individually. Now, when we think of ACT, the one of the major questions that has been asked is, do I need to remember all the sections and rules? The answer is absolutely no, actually. In fact, for those of you who are following me on LinkedIn, you would have seen a lot of memes in last month or so, wherein we have been putting that in a very sarcastic manner, what you need to, how you need to prepare and all basically. So you don't need to remember all sections and the rule numbers basically. Uh, these certain sections are important and you need to remember those. In fact, what I'm going to do in this session later is I'm going to tell you certain section numbers which are really very important, and why they are important also has certain significance. So if you look at the pattern of the exam, the interpretation of Patent Act, the paper 2 case studies, which is generally considered as comparatively difficult, uh, that in that there have been kind of certain concepts which are important, and that's how the section numbers are also really important for that actually. Okay, so remembering the section numbers is not something which is recommended, but then certain section numbers, as you practice, as you revise, as you go through the act and rules, you would automatically remember those actually. That is the most important. Just a request before I move ahead. If you have any question, you can put it in the chat box. YouTube, we are YouTube live. You can put those questions in live chat actually, and I'll be taking those questions at an appropriate time as such. Now go conceptually rather than section wise. The moment you go section wise, there is a lot of confusion. You have to go concept wise only, because the way the act is framed, if you go through section 2, it has all, it is like the revision of entire Patent Act. All the terminologies are there, but unless and until you know the terminologies, reading those definitions is not going to help you out actually. Okay, so going conceptually rather than section wise is important. Beyond that, terminologies are really very important. Certain terminologies, in fact, we are going to we also have these differences between certain terminologies that are very important, because people get confused between refusal, withdrawal, abandonment, or the terminologies lapse, restoration. These kind of terminologies, as far as Patent Act are concerned, are really very important. As far as rules are concerned, timelines are significant. You have to prepare a kind of a chart, and those charts you can, because the timelines, the forms are important along with the fees part actually. The timelines are important. When I say timelines, there are three things that are important. So, for example, when we think of filing a complete application from the provisional one, that point of time, three things are important. First is, so the complete can be filed within 12 months from the provisional filing. So the first important thing is from what? The from is provisional filing. Second is the time. So the time is 12 months. From provisional filing, 12 months, but that 12 months is within 12 months actually. Now, if I count, if I do this for some other activity, publication, the publication of an application, normal publication, not early publication, publication of an application is 18 months from the priority, but remember, it is after 18 months, not within 18 months. So the connecting dot is really very important as far as the timelines are concerned. Forms and fees are important. There is a simple way to remember all the forms actually, based on the fees basically, and that is something you have to do basically. Beyond that, we have the manual. See, manual reading is not mandatory, but it is highly recommended once you are finished with the act and rules basically. Now, whether I should go in a sequence of act, rules, and manual, you can go simultaneously as well if you know what section refers to rules and what section refers to the manual basically. What rules shall I go through? The rules, as far as the rules are concerned, The rules, numbers, which are significant are the ones which are mentioned in the forms, as well as there are certain rules which are for basically for form 30 with the Indian Patent Act, where there is no other form recommended. Those rules are really very important as far as the exam is concerned. uh, Lastly, the content wise, as I mentioned, previous year's question paper. Now there is a lot of I would say discussion about previous year's question papers as such. Remember that the previous year's questions rarely get repeated. So if you see any question papers, there is hardly I would say one or two questions in objective, maybe one only that gets repeated. Now, as far as paper 2 is concerned, none of the drafts ever has been repeated. The case studies kind of questions are also not repeated. Long answer questions at times have been repeated, but again, that's the probability is very less as such. So the questions get rarely repeated as such, but doesn't mean you should keep that in option or you shouldn't prepare for that. Rather, it is very important. It is very important to have a specific approach. Just go through the previous year's question papers to look into the pattern basically, the kind of pattern, kind of questions are asked, especially for paper one or case studies. That is important. Then, as far as the drafting is concerned, previous year's question paper, I have a full slide actually for discussing about how 2023 exam would be different and what are the practices that you need to, or how you should approach basically. But then practice for patent drafting is really very crucial. Without practice, it's not possible for crack the patent agent exam. I also have a suggestion for all those students who are appearing for patent agent exam. See, patent drafting is an art basically, and if you are really lucky enough, then probably you would be in a position to do it really well during such a short period of time of 3 or 4 months, I would say. But then cracking the exam is very different from practicing the patent draft. So if you are already practicing patent drafting, then probably you have an upper hand. But still, don't just be so you still need a practice. Why I'm telling you, I have some answers later in this session for that actually. But then while practicing, try to go through different kind of inventions from different domain. You can go through biomedical invention, you can go to biotech, you can go through the mechanical, simple mechanical, electronics. Now patent drafting is more of a techno-legal thing. The legal part we can very easily learn in 2 3 months, and we would be in a position to actually, I would say, understand how to do that basically, the drafting thing. But uh, the significant part or the most important part is to understand the technology part, and this is where exactly the luck factor plays a role basically, because I am from pharma, and it may happen that I'll have to attempt a question which is from non-pharma domain into the drafting actually. So at that point of time, understanding the invention is at times difficult. Probably once you are out of the exam hall, you may be in a position to attempt that question, but then in those 3 hours, reading that, understanding that, interpreting that, and putting it in a proper format is really very important. And that's the reason practice for drafting is something which is really important as such. These are some of the topics, I would say, which are important. And of course, I have been repeating these topics in many sessions: non-patentable inventions, section 8, section 25 about the opposition, section 47 grant of patent uh, subject to certain conditions. Then section 54 restoration of lapsed patent, section 16, section 64 revocation, power of controllers to correct clerical errors under section 78, compulsory licenses and convention application. So why these sections? On one side I told you that the questions don't get repeated. On other side I'm saying these are important topics or important concepts basically. There have been instances wherein these conceptually the questions are repeated. What does that mean basically? Let me see if I have a okay, I have that one slide later that I'll be discussing. Okay. Now, these questions are either asked in long answer, case studies, that is analytical reasoning type questions, or multiple choice. Open, if you open any question paper from 2000 to 2022, these questions are there. These topics are definitely covered in that. Rather, there was one question paper in which the very first topic that I have included here in non-patentable invention was covered for more than 40 marks actually. For more than 40 marks, it was covered. One topic, one section, that is section 3. Okay. So based on these trends or based on, and in fact, just not about the trends, but as a practitioner, when I'm practicing the Patent Act, be it at the time of drafting, claim drafting, or be it at the time of prosecution, that is the FER replies, the hearing, the submissions, or even the oppositions for that sake, therein section 3 plays a major role. And for us as a practitioner, it is very difficult at times to overcome section 3 for the invention, what is already mentioned or what we get from the controller during the examination reports or the hearing notices as such. Now, that's the reason we recommend these topics, and definitely, you should not miss on the as such as such. The you just can't skip any topics basically. You shouldn't ideally, but then there are certain sections which you can also skip if you feel overburdened with the entire syllabus. Now the exam focused approach, of course, I have that slide on for 23 how it would be different. But before moving to that, there has to be some kind of the kind of preparation that you should have. 3 to 4 months study is absolutely fine. Rather, we had some examples who started their studies in the month of Feb, and they cleared the exam in the month of May actually. So we have certain examples of that. Now, one thing that is lagging is momentum or motivation that you can't get externally. Of course, if you are with me, as in if you're part of our classes, probably we would be there to keep that momentum till the exam basically. But then, in fact, if you see out of 7,700, just 2,900 students are appearing for the exam. It's not like the only reason is that momentum or motivation that is required for that, and that motivation is lagging, and students leave the preparation in between. 3 months is a big time, honestly. Last year it was all about COVID as well. Most of us are working professionals. Most of us are also have other responsibilities as well, family responsibilities as well. At times it becomes really very difficult to keep that momentum, but then don't lose it. That having that momentum till the exam stage is really very important. I've been discussing this about group discussion, working in pairs, or working in groups basically for the patent age, the exam preparation basically. Now, how this can be done, definitely, we are isolated at different places actually. Even if you are in a metro like Mumbai or Bangalore, or Hyderabad, it's not still possible to meet people across and do the group discussions basically. But then every Sunday we are doing this through our class, wherein all the students are joining, and we are doing that group discussion basically. All my sessions are we try to make it more interactive basically. And in fact, some of the sessions are also available free of cost on the Pharma Literati YouTube channel or our website eduliterati.com as well. Paper one and paper two preparation requires a separate strategy. You need to remember this, that both the papers require separate strategies. It's not about especially the drafting part in paper two requires a separate strategy. Just just reading the draft is not gonna help class. Just the reading the draft, understanding the invention is not gonna help unless and until you practice. जब तक आप पानी में नहीं जाओगे तब तक तैरना नहीं सीख सकते. Same way, until you draft claim, until you draft the title, draft the abstract, draft the specification, you cannot learn drafting. And let me tell you, the marks that are for drafting are for almost 50 to 60 marks. 30 marks full question for drafting, 20 marks title abstract claim. And viva was definitely just think of viva voce as a supplementary thing at this point of time. Your first priority should be getting that 100 plus marks, more than 15 paper one and more than 15 paper two. We also did viva voce preparation. We also viva voce preparation is something which is, I would say, a gamble. Why I say it as a gamble? Because you never know what kind of questions would be asked to you in viva voce. Now, I have one student who scored 48 out of 50. Let me repeat, 48 out of 50 in the viva voce examination for 2022. Yes, viva voce can be highly scoring, but again, those who couldn't unfortunately crack the patent agent exam last time, viva was not the one to blame. Rather, 2022, the average viva voce marks were way higher compared to the previous year, right? So you have to score high in the paper one and paper two, then only you would be in a position to, I would say, clear the patent agent examination as such. So for that viva voce, as and in fact, as I said, it's very random kind of questions that you get. When I still remember when we conducted the viva voce classes, it was a mock viva actually for all the students, and there were at least 3 to 4 students. I would call them really lucky, because जो questions mock viva में पूछे गए थे ना class में, they were asked the exactly same question at the IPO. It's not that I knew the question, but it's that so like if you take a scientific approach, there would be certain questions which are generally asked, and we also try to tell you what kind of answers are expected for viva. Of course, this is at a very late stage we would be discussing as well. Those of you who have joined for the class, or even there are certain videos on the Pharma Literati YouTube channel wherein these discussions are done in detail basically. Excuse me. Now, coming back to paper 2 and patent agent exam, patent drafting questions, look at the trends, and I was actually surprised with the trends for especially for 2022. 2013 onwards, 2013 onwards, there was a change in pattern for the paper 2. And if you look at 13, 16 and 18, all these exams where or even for that say 22, they had two kind of questions. One was in drafting basically, because there are choices given to you in the drafting, one or other for 20 marks, and A, so A or B for 20 marks and C or D for 30 marks. Now the challenge is, so there are four types of questions basically. There are four types of questions basically in terms of drafting. A composition kind of invention, a device kind of invention. Device can be from any industry. Composition can be from pharma industry, it can be from a chemical, it can be from a FMCG, it can be from food, it can be from nutraceuticals, it can be from any industry basically. The composition kind of inventions basically, these are considered easy to answer, okay, once you know how to do that. The difficult are the ones which are device, because the at the upfront, if the device is from a really unknown kind of industry, then the student have that I would say mind pressure that I don't know the industry basically. But then in 22, if you see, there were, and even in 2018, there were three questions on the device and just one question on the composition actually. So there was at least one device question which was mandatory. So if when you are preparing for drafting, as I said, four kind of inventions or four kind of claiming strategies: composition, device, composition also called formulation, device also called as apparatus, third, chemistry. Now, fortunately, I would say, after 2008, there has not been a single invention from the chemistry part. And why I'm saying fortunately, because although I am from pharma side, I studied chemistry for long, but I still cannot draft a chemical invention or chemistry invention. No, it's not possible, especially the Marcos structure and all. You need an organic chemist only for that. And if you are a chemist and appearing for patent agent exam, get this kind of invention, bang on target, you are really lucky enough. But most of, so those who are outside chemistry, for them, it becomes really difficult. See, it's not I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's comparatively difficult actually. The fourth kind of inventions or the claiming strategies are the ones wherein we have the manufacturing processes, method of preparing a composition or a product. These are easy, but then the bigger challenge is with respect to drafting those questions. Drafting those claims basically. Because if you uh, draft it if you draft it very broadly, you may not be getting the marks basically, and it has to go stepwise actually. So the manufacturing process kind of claims, they are never for device, because devices generally are assemblies, and I would say they are also something which wherein each of the component has certain function associated with it. Now, in this particular case, pen, the cap, the refill, so everything has its different function. But there won't be manufacturing process kind of claim here. It can be assembly. Now, manufacturing process can be for compositions and products basically. Okay, so when you are practicing the patent drafting, uh, practice for four inventions: one, composition; second, device; third, chemistry if you can do; and fourth is the process claims basically. So these are important drafting as far as the drafting exercises are concerned. Looking at the trends in 2018 and 2022, if you see, we are expecting something unexpected happening, I would say, in 2023 exam as far as the drafting exercises are concerned basically. So you may have probably three composition or again three device kind of stuff. So you just can't skip composition and device, or you never know, you may also have a chemistry invention, but the probability is less, all because nowadays even the patent office knows that the number of students appearing for patent agent exam from non-chemistry domain are really very high. So, and chemistry people can definitely draft the other, but then vice versa is really difficult, I would say. Now, if I go to paper 2, part A, which is the case studies or analytical kind of questions. And herein the real challenge is, if you go through the question paper of 2022, I was in fact discussing it with one of my friends who is a very senior in the domain, I would say, like, in terms of, and she has been tracking the patent agent exams since 2005. That point of time, we discussed that the 2022 examination was more practical approach based rather than theoretical, answer based. And if you see paper 2, part A, we had 6 case studies. And if we compare it with 2018 or 16, it was 3 and 5 basically. So you had at least 2 or 4 long answer question. When I say long answer, these are direct questions. For example, what are the grounds for pre-grant opposition? It's a direct long answer question. You can answer it if you are prepared well. But case studies are the ones which are I would say, more analytical reasoning based kind of questions that are asked. For example, I'll tell you this question number 7, if you see, the crop pro is a pesticide in South Korea. That's a company. And then the kind of questions that are asked, how will you respond to this FER? If the complete spec did not have any example evidencing increasing flowering rate, how can crop pro provide further evidence? And I'll tell you honestly, I've been practicing patent act since the last 6 years, I would say, as a patent agent. Although I'm a patent agent of 2005 to 17, unfortunately, I was never involved into actual prosecution. But now I realize that how different is prosecution actually in terms of replying to these kind of questions. And this is exactly what is expected from you once you qualify the patent agent examination. Now, importantly herein is that only a patent practitioner, only a patent practitioner can do this or can teach you this basically, how to respond to the FER. The one, okay, now let me tell you how our IP industry is actually, especially in Indian context, the IP industry is divided. We have one set of people who are in IP, who are into searching, analytics. They are just doing searching basically. There are a lot of companies. I shouldn't name these companies. Now, these people, these professionals in the IP industry, from these industries, they don't know much about the drafting or much about the prosecution. For them, this part becomes difficult actually, because drafting, and prosecution are the key as far as paper 2 is concerned. The other part of professionals in the industry, typically in the industry, across the industry, be it FMCG industry, be it pharma industry, be it any software industry, I would say for that sake. Okay, there in many organizations, most of the work is related to FTO, freedom to operate. We also call it infringement analysis and searching. No drafting, no prosecution. That way for them as well, it becomes really difficult to answer these kind of questions actually. Now, the third breed of IP professionals is the one who are working, most of them are working with law firms actually. And in these law firms, they are very so they're working as a patent expert in a law firm. They may not be lawyers basically. Okay. But for them, this part is quite easy because they are dealing with it again and again, again and again. So for them, it becomes easy. But then for them, drafting becomes really very difficult, I would say. Now, in my career, we have been involved into, I would say, since I worked with the law firm, as consultant, I'm running my KPO, I work with industry. So, we are aware of almost each of the domain, which I mean, I've practically experienced that. And for sure, I know, the kind of expertise these people bring. And why I'm also saying this is, we also get a lot of CVs basically from the student that I'm a patent agents of 2012 or 2014 or even 2009. But then, unfortunately, they don't know anything about prosecution because their career have been more into searches actually. So importantly for these analytical questions, reasoning kind of questions, you need to think like a practitioner, I would say, patent practitioner as such, and so that is something which is I would say the key for answering these kind of questions. These questions are not technical questions, but they are something which checks your knowledge of the domain as well as technical domain, as well as they check your knowledge of patents as well, the concepts of patent as well. Now, and this was for paper 2 in 2022. If you look at paper 1 in 2022, again, lot of questions were conceptually based. If you look at previous year's question papers like 18, 16, 13, 11, most of the multiple choice questions were actually direct questions. Like, for example, what is the form for statement and undertaking under section 8? Form 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at this question now. Now, these questions, reading it, interpreting it, understanding, interpreting, and applying actually, application part. Again, if you're not clear about concepts, not gonna answer this for sure. Okay, so it becomes really very difficult to answer these kind of questions if you are not clear about your concepts as such. And as I said, none of the questions get repeated in the patent agent examination, especially in the paper 1. Just a request, I'm almost about to finish my session. If you have any specific questions or queries, you can put it across via the chat box, the live chat in on the YouTube channel as. Now, these are some of my predictions basically for the 2023 patent agent exam. Practical oriented approach, higher focus on the analytical approach, or these kind of questions basically need to be very clear about the concepts. If you don't know the concepts, it would be very difficult to I would say, crack the exam. Beyond that, a practitioner's approach, I'll tell you, and this is I would say something, I can call it as a confession from my end. Basically, is that if you had asked me 3 or 4 years back how to give an answer to the FER, I didn't know it because I am a patent agent, but I was not a practitioner. Last 5-6 years now we have moved to a level jahan pe we almost have 32 patents granted. 50 plus patents are in the prosecution pipeline. Basically, day in day out, every month we are replying to 4 or 5 examination reports. We have 1 or 2 hearings every month, and we have to make the submissions for them as such, but then 3-4 years back this was not possible. And being a patent agent, let me tell you, is different, and practicing is different. But if you want your 2023 pre-patent agent exam, you want to crack it, think like a practitioner, or I would say someone who practices the patent act or patent law basically with the Indian Patent Office. Now, probably for me, it is very easy to answer this question. How would you respond to this, FER? Right? Because we are doing it day in, day out, actually. But then 3 4 years back, because I was not a practitioner at that point of time, I was not replying to the examination. I was just like, maybe drafting it actually, the certain patent applications as such. And since IP is a domain which has a lot of things, basically, from searches, the FTO, even teaching, for that sake, IP teaching is a different domain. So everyone may not have that kind of expertise. If you ask me today about IP valuation, although I'm a patent agent, I don't know what is IP valuation. The moment I get something, I just hand it over to a few of my friends who are working in the IP valuation part answer. Right. So these are some of the predictions. Questions don't get repeated. Just look at the pattern for the previous year's questions, rather than I would say the questions themselves. And if you are really looking forward to answers for the previous year's questions, paper one answers are available on Pharma Literati YouTube channel. For paper two, we are also working on that, and certain answers, specific answers, we would be putting on Pharma Literati YouTube channel this year for sure. Last year we did it for paper one actually, and this year we are trying to do it for paper two as such. Previous year's question papers are helpful just to understand the approaches, or just to I would say see what kind of questions, the patterns basically. Okay. Drafting exercises are really becoming tricky, and in fact, I had a practitioner, I won't name her. She scored almost 80 plus marks in first paper, but then unfortunately in paper one, paper two, she could just score 51 marks. Actually, she was lucky enough that she was at 51, because wahan pe, otherwise she was not able to, and she was one of the brightest students in my class actually, for the last year. So these are some of the predictions, and these are some numbers for last year. Our students, I would say, achieved as far as the patent agent exam, the students from our classes, actually we had almost 82 students. 22 couldn't appear for the exam, 54 qualified for viva. Post viva, 5 could not crack the exam, but then there were at least 12 to 15 students who joined us at the time of viva and cracked the patent agent exam. Now we have got some questions, and I'll take these questions with the name MAPREs. If we get actual patent drafting examples, MAPREs, exactly, that's what we are doing in our classes. We are providing the drafting examples. Actually, every weekend we are drafting the title abstract claims for the like you know claims for the title abstract claims for the inventions basically that we are actually doing. So the drafting examples, if you want, actually you can refer to the previous year's question papers just for examples, or go through the Indian Patent Office website, or just go through the Google Patent, basically the for the identifying certain drafts for practice basically. I got a question from Sudarshan. Can some same invention be applied for ordinary convention and PCT in same form, because law says one application? Uh, okay. Law says one application shall be for one invention only. So when a law says one application for one invention, it is about unity of invention, basically, Sudarshan. And yes, you can file the same invention as a convention in some other country and as a PCT as well. As per Section 11, can competitors granted a patent claims be invalidated, stating reasons of our priority. I'm sorry, Sudarshan, I'm not going to take much of the technical questions here, and there is some problem with the question, not able to understand this. Does this mean both provisional and complete spec is published during publication? In simple, can't the applicant revise the provisional application, removing the critical info? Yes, this can be done, Sudarshan. While filing the complete application, you definitely can. You definitely can. I would say, mm, like add or make changes to the provisional, but you would be getting the priority for that as such. Without losing priority and maintaining earliest priority of now this is interesting, Sudarshan. What you disclose in provisional, you would have a priority of that date. What you disclose in the complete would have a priority of that date. Actually, we get these kind of objections in the first examination report. In fact, I'll tell you, we got a very interesting case recently wherein this guy filed a patent. One of the applicants filed a patent on their own, without taking help of a patent agent, and they just put title, abstract, and single paragraph as a specification. And that specification doesn't have any meaning, basically, because although they have filed it as a priority, I would say, but then that priority, the provisional application, but then there is no priority basically that is given. Okay, so that's how it works, Sudarshan. Hope it answers your question. If there are any specific questions, I would be more than happy to answer for this particular session. Vijay, yeah, please let me know. Vijay Pawar, good to see you here. Very informative session. Please let me know if Bare Act book is required for Patent Act rule manual available on IP. Okay. Let me tell you, because these are repeat questions, Vijay, or for everyone else, basically. Refer to the Indian Patent Act as a like or at the Indian Patent Office website, basically. Now, as far as the Bare Act books are concerned, just ensure that the it is revised, basically, because specifically for rules, like the things get changed over a period of time, and the rules are not covered probably in the old editions of the that particular Bare Act or book. Now I'll tell you, because you mentioned here in Vijay, so this was 3 days before the patent agent exam. One of my students called me, and she was confused because for form 28, the form which she was referring to was from a book, and the form 28 format was changed later, and the book edition comes at a later stage, right? So you can't revise the book day in day out, right? So the form 28 actually on the patent office website was very different than the one which was in different, as in there were certain things added, and the one which was in the book was different. The student got panic. Actually, I still remember that call. I had to, like, tell her not to worry. It was just I would say, that's the reason I don't recommend to, like, I would say, like, I recommend to refer to these specifically. I'll just tell you these four things only. This is more than sufficient, Vijay. And if you still want, you can opt for something which is latest available, the print edition. Hope that answers your question, Vijay. Uh, before I conclude this session, as I mentioned initially, we are starting a new batch from 7th of Feb for patent agent exam. Our first batch of 35 students is already over, and we are having what we are providing under the patent agent exam training as such is five or six things. The fees is 12,500, but then there is, if you apply this Valentine coupon code, you can get a discount of 4,000 rupees. So you'll just have to pay 8,500 rupees. What we are providing in this is 50 hours pre-recorded sessions, which are from the last year, uh, 20 live interactive sessions, revising the syllabus or revisiting the syllabus, 7 mock tests, Viva voice preparations, charts for paper one, and sample charts for paper two as well, that we are actually providing. Siley, I'm taking you a question here. Bare Act is required along with rules and manual. Yes, absolutely fine. Yes, that's what the understanding is. And also, and in fact, this was one of the most impactful thing for the almost 60 students qualified patent agent exam last year, and these were the revision sessions which were live, not online but offline. And last year we did it in Mumbai and Delhi. This year we are for sure doing it in Mumbai, Delhi, and Bangalore for 2 days, revising the entire syllabus in the last week of April as such. So these three locations for sure we are doing, and hopefully we'll be doing it in Ahmedabad as well if we get a minimum number of crowd as such. So this is exactly what I had to let you know about the patent agent examination 2023. Thank you so much for taking out your time for almost an hour on this Sunday, I would say, and have a uh, 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 great Sunday ahead. I'm available for calls if there are any specific queries or questions with respect to patent agent examination 2023. Also, beyond that, do follow us on our WhatsApp, sorry, the YouTube channel basically, wherein a lot of videos are there. And this year as well, almost 5 to 6 videos we'll be putting in on the YouTube channel, which would be helpful for you during the patent agent exam preparation. Thank you so much and have a